broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans, producing after-shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hello, AfterBuzzers. Welcome to another edition of Face Off's After Show for Season 8, Episode 7, Queen Bees. Fitting, right?
Yeah, I liked it.
If you have not done so already, please subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/AfterBuzzTV. Also, check us out on iTunes and SoundCloud by searching AfterBuzz TV. And be sure to tweet us with all of your comments, any sort of feedback you have for our show or for Face Off in general. We love hearing from you guys. Just use the hashtag ABTVFaceOff. I am your host, Alana Jordan. You can find me on Twitter at Alana Jordan. And today I am joined by the gorgeous
Emma Fyffe. You can find me on Twitter at Emma Fyffe.
And I'm Alexis Torres, and you can find me on Twitter at atorres890.
I really missed Aaron messing up his Twitter handle.
I know, we'll just mess it up for him. It's AA something music underscore at. So
he's totally gonna appreciate that.
So this week was pretty fun because we had a foundation challenge and we had a spotlight challenge. So 2 challenges in one episode. I always love when we get that little throw in. And my favorite part, Lois Burwell.
Yay! I loved, too, that I felt like the contestants were, like, just as excited about her being there as I was. Like, she walked into the room and they were all like, yay, it's Lois!
Lois Burwell is just a phenomenal person in addition to being a phenomenal talent. So anytime that she is on Face Off, I think we're all just delighted because she's so sweet.
And what a delightful foundation challenge, which we are all paying homage to with our wardrobe here. It was a challenge inspired by hats. Which Lois herself was wearing a pretty spectacular hat, if I do say so myself.
She looked great.
Yeah, she really did.
And the contestants did a really, really good job with this one. They only had 2 hours for this challenge. They had to choose a hat and then base an entire original character off of that hat with a 2-hour makeup challenge, and everybody just really brought, there wasn't a single one of these that I thought was not good.
Yeah, I totally agree. They all were, you know, they looked like completed makeups. And I always like, too, with the foundation challenge, like seeing what the character, what the makeup artists, rather, do creating characters using like out of the box pieces, because unlike in the spotlight challenge where they're sculpting things specifically for somebody's face, in this it's like, well, here's a nose, make it work.
Yeah, it's I really like these challenges almost more than the spotlights.
Yeah,
in some ways.
they're kind of fun.
Well, there was 2 favorites that really stood out. I thought everybody's work was phenomenal, but Rob and Emily both really stepped up their game on this one. Emily ultimately brought it home and won immunity. She had those rhinestones glued.
Literally exactly what I was going to say. She crushed up rhinestones and glued them all over her model's body and like wrapped her in a lame dress that looked like it was made out of tinfoil. Like, it was just working for me.
It was amazing. It looked like it took her a lot longer than 2 hours.
Yeah. Yeah. I was super impressed.
But we'll talk a little later. Rob was this close.
This
close to getting that immunity. And after being bottom looks last week too, the whole time he was just saying, I gotta step up my game, I gotta step up my game, because his London troll
didn't go over so well.
Didn't really go over so well.
I did really like his concept in the foundation challenge too. Like, it was so clear. It was such a fun idea that basically the idea was that Pinocchio was not rescued from the belly of the whale. And so it was Pinocchio if he'd like spent a lot more time like living inside of Maestro, and it was cool. It was really great. And he, you know, made them all like grody looking, but also had like a little piece of greenery growing out of his nose to like show that he was still like a rotted wooden puppet. I don't know. I thought it was great. And unfortunately, he didn't get the immunity, which he really could have used.
It was still great work, so definitely something to be proud of. I think all the makeup artists. I wish they would have spent a little more time on the episode really showcasing those looks, because I thought they were some of the best looks that we've seen on the show.
Yeah, I think the one look that I liked was Adam's, his samurai.
I really liked his samurai look.
So cool.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. I was kind of sad that they didn't really like talk about the rest of them. They kind of just did what they usually do with the foundation challenge. They kind of just skipped through everything. I was like, oh, I really wanted to know what Adam's story was, because he always has really good stories with his makeup.
Yep.
So.
Well, they definitely spent the bulk of the time focusing on that spotlight challenge. This was a really cool one, too. I guess we can lose our hats now.
Yeah, since we're done talking about the...
By foundation challenge. Now we got to move up to Queen Bees.
I like this. That's awesome.
I mean, we already have the bee mic, so we gotta go big with the crown and the scepter.
And the scepter.
So this was a really cool challenge where they actually had two models that there were a few twists, because we all know Mackenzie loves the twists.
She lives for the twists.
Yeah, there was 3 big twists for this one. One, there was going to be more than one model. There was 2. Everybody was going to divide up into teams. And from what they showed us, it looked like everybody picked their own team, which was kind of cool.
Yeah, and all of that was like fairly standard.
Yeah,
it's like, okay, we're in the woods, we're going to pick our teams, and then they thought, oh, we're going to sit down and concept for a while, but
instead, they say, first twist, all of your makeup will be done in the woods. So just a heads up, we're not going back to the lab. This is it. And Stephanie's thinking, oh, so we're going to be sculpting in the woods? How is this going to work? Next twist. Your models are also completely naked.
I think my favorite reaction was Logan's, where he was just like, "Oh no." And I don't know if he was thinking this, but in my brain he's going, "Oh my God, don't let my wife be mad at me."
Actually, he did say that on the show.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he was like, if you had to come up with my worst nightmare for a challenge, it would be like painting naked people in the woods, like exactly what's happening right now. Like that is my worst nightmare.
That was a weird nightmare, but I get it.
Yeah, specifically because he's like, I'm gonna have to explain this to my wife.
I was like, I swear I had to touch her because I had to paint her.
Yeah. And I loved how they just show the models chilling, just sitting completely naked. Like, yeah, what are you guys gonna come up with? Bits out.
Yeah. I loved it, but at the same time, like when they were like getting into their positions, I was just sitting there going, oh God, that's like sticks and stones and dirt in places I don't want it to be in. And I was like, I felt like William Shatner. Oh God, don't do it. Like, oh, I didn't like it.
Well, I liked that, but you just didn't. So that's
how I would be. If someone was like, Alexis, please pose naked up against this tree, I'd be like, no, I can't do it. I can't do it. I don't know. My brain wouldn't be able to process it. But I think that they were good sports about it. And it brought me back to, because I went to art college in college, and all my friends were animators, so I got to go pick them up from their figure drawing classes, and I was just like, hey guys, oh God, you're naked. I'm so sorry. Where do I go? Like, so I guess as an artist, I'm like, okay, you should be used to seeing people naked, but makeup is different than animating or drawing. Yeah. I mean, even though they have to draw concepts for their makeup, but it was just kind of funny to watch them kind of be like, I have the same bits, but I can't look at your bits.
And I totally felt like there were differing levels of comfort with being around the naked models.
It was really funny.
Well, I also feel that the models had different levels of comfort depending on what the background was, because part of the challenge as well was integrating not just the insect that you choose, but then the insect habitat and having all of it blend together, because this was another interesting thing. We didn't actually have the judges to see the makeup up close.
That is correct.
They were judging the photo and how the overall still image looked. So this was the one we've been talking about, the cinematic quality.
Absolutely.
This is one that it really was, how do you convey an entire situation in a 2D image?
It totally was, and I think there is something to be said for the winners, which we'll get into when we really talk about the winners, having really good photo composition, frankly.
Yeah. There's so many different elements that they have to consider with this challenge, which makes it so unique to the other ones. Yep. Which is why I really liked this episode a lot for that reason, and also puns. So one group was safe because now we're down to 10 contestants. So after the 5 hours, which I just have to point out that is not a very long time to make your entire makeup. They did all of that in 5 hours in the woods.
I mean,
so good job, guys. Good
yeah,
job
no,
to everyone before we say anything
bad.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Nice.
That's some real applause.
But yeah, I have to agree with that because I was sitting there going, one, you have to deal with these models probably sweating because it's hot outside because it's LA.
thinking about that, too.
I felt like, I mean, I've seen that kind of paint before, but at the same time, I was just like, that must suck because at one point you're just like, oh, we're just blending in some sweat there. That's fun. Ooh. But at the same time, at least they're not sculpting or putting prosthetics on, which is kind of nice. They're just kind of working with mostly body paint. Yeah. Correct? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then whatever gel things that they can put like with their hair and things like that.
Absolutely. I mean, almost entirely body paint, though they did have some pieces that they could fabricate into wings, which we actually saw on the makeup that was safe.
Yes. On Stephanie and Darla teamed up and made this jewel beetle. This was an unusual one. They went in an odd direction with this one.
They had a different concept originally where like the male model was going to be part of a tree and then when they tried to incorporate him into the design of the female, I think he almost ended up more obscured than he would have been if they'd made him part of the tree.
Well, because they basically said, hide behind her and put your arms out like this.
Exactly.
Yeah. And the wings were too high.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it looks strange. And I mean, like how you said when we were watching it, it looks like it's coming out of her neck,
yeah.
not from atomically.
Well, because frankly, the only thing we actually see of the male model, and this is not because of clever camouflaging, this is just because of poor placement, is we kind of see his painted shoulders and then just
I never thought about
and
that.
then just the ends of his knuckles sticking out behind the wings. And, you know, he was terribly underutilized. And I also felt that this makeup didn't reflect the insect that it was based on. Mm-hmm. You know, the insect they had was the jewel beetle, which has this beautiful like purple,
right
like
there.
Elena has in her bracelet.
Because they even brought it up. They were like, oh, the jewel beetle has this really cool like green and black, you know, wings in the back, and I was like, cool, they're gonna do something with that, and they didn't.
No.
And also another thing I wanted to bring up was V brought up a great point that her boobs. Her chesticles were not, like, really blended, so you could just tell, like, hey, look, that's a woman with boobs.
Now, I will say that their model seems to have had the largest boobs.
Yes. Yeah, they had a busty.
Models they were working on.
They had a busty.
Yeah, exactly. They had a busty lady. Mm-hmm. But if they had posed her differently, and painted it differently, of course, as well, but even with just a little different posing, I think it would have... But she was just, like, leaning forward.
It definitely highlighted
out there.
Yeah. It highlighted the human anatomy.
Yes, it did.
We'll say that more so than the actual insect. Like, yeah, I think they had a good idea going. I think if they would have reversed it and had a backwards angle and really focused on that and then had the wings come out from in front.
Yeah, because it would have been really cool because then you wouldn't be able to tell who's in front. And you would just see, you are a smart cookie.
I
like
think
that.
they could have gone with that angle and they didn't. And I feel exactly what you said, and Neville said the same thing. It's underutilization.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it was you were given
two
these
models.
Elements, and you didn't incorporate them. And I was actually pretty surprised to see they were very surprised that they were not.
Their reaction was really funny because they were just like, "Are you bleep 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 bleep?"
Yeah. and they did bleep it out too because guys, this is family friendly television.
Oh, but don't worry, we just have naked people. Hey.
Yeah, I know, right?
Unless you watch an earlier in the day screening of it, then they censor a little bit more.
Yeah, the bits are all blurred out.
Yeah, we saw full bits.
Oh, I definitely saw some side boob, and I was like, hey, censor people, what up? How dare you?
Well, then our top looks were really brilliant, though.
I totally agree. There was no question in my mind this week, having seen those two looks, that those were going to be the top looks.
Yeah. I really do feel that everybody just stepped up their game this week. It was such great work on all accounts. Even the bottom looks I thought were great, but the top looks were just phenomenal. Mm-hmm. Emily and Jamie with the honeybee.
Holy smokes. Like, I loved every minute of that.
I loved how David Bowie-esque
Yes!
the face looked.
Okay, I thought I was the only one who was like, does this guy kind of have like a David Bowie thing going on? I could see it. Yeah, it's really great. I love the colors. I love how the lines are harsh, but it's in the right spots. It was gorgeous.
I loved too in the judging how like everyone was so hung up on and don't get me wrong, I completely agree with this. They're like, oh, Emily, the painting of the queen was so beautiful. She was stunning. Her face is one of my favorite paint jobs I've ever seen on Face Off. That is a direct quote from V. Neal. But when they were discussing the looks afterwards, everyone's like, Emily, Emily, Emily. And I love you, Emily. This makeup was incredible. It was gorgeous. But I did like that Neville was like, Jamie, really, she had such an appropriate paint job for that drone bee. Because the story was that like, this was the queen bee and this was the drone who had fallen in love with her. And I think that their photo composition was just spot on. Yeah. And one of the really smart things that they did, which you can see in this photo, is that Emily really wanted to incorporate the honeycomb into the paint job of the queen bee. So they positioned her in front of the honeycomb, so you saw that juxtaposition. It was clever. It really helped the judges get it, I think.
And I loved Laura pointed out, too, that they went a little bit more abstract with it.
They did.
They incorporated all of the elements so you knew you could look at it directly and say, that is a honeybee, but you don't say that is a literal adaptation of a honeybee. Yeah. So I thought it was brilliant. I love that they worked really well together.
There's actually a hashtag going around on Twitter and Instagram, which is Team Jamily.
Oh my god, that's adorable.
Jamie and Emily, because this is the second time they've worked together, and this is the second time they really knocked it out of the park, and I was really happy that this time they were top looks. Because the last time they got snubbed.
Yeah, they should have been top looks last time, so this, I agree.
Yeah.
This definitely should have been top looks and was brilliant. I will say, I thought this was winning look until I saw...
Oh, yeah.
Logan and Julian.
Holy smokes. I know, Julian, if you're watching, holy crap. So that's all I can say. When I first saw this, like I was telling these guys this, when I saw the pictures first before I saw the episode, I was kind of like, where? I only see one person in this photo. Like, what is the big deal? Looks like this lady's just kind of crouched. Yeah. And then they put something on her butt. That's what I was thinking. And then we were watching it, and Emma's like, no, that's the second person. And I was like, shut up, no way. And then like, yeah, then I can finally see everything. And I was like, oh my god, you guys are geniuses.
Aside from the paint job being gorgeous on this and it being a really clever integration of the male model's body to create the thorax, that other like butt part basically of this insect, which was the cuckoo wasp, another really cool thing that I noticed when I was studying this picture again was that they actually used the male model's arms to create sixth legs.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was just so cleverly composed, and I mean Logan's paint job on the body of the woman who's like the main portion of the cuckoo wasp it's just stunning.
And he had never done body paint before.
I know. And I was like, you liar.
Brilliant. It was so good. So good job, guys. Cuckoo wasp, crazy good.
Yeah. So I basically have nothing bad to say about this.
No, my jaw literally dropped.
I'm glad that Laura had that input at the beginning because they were going to do the larva.
Yeah.
And then she said, maybe you should see about making that part of the thorax, making it all blend together. And the thing is that they pointed out it could have gone really well or really horribly. And I feel like we kind of saw when it didn't work. And then with this one, just how perfectly it goes together.
Exactly. I mean, with Kelly and Darla, it did not work out. But in this case, and she was very specific about why she thought that they should incorporate it into the thorax, which I actually thought was really, really good thinking on her part, which was, as you were saying, they originally wanted to incorporate the larva. And Laura was basically like, you don't know what that looks like.
You don't have a picture of it. You don't have a reference material. This could look very bad.
Yeah, because in my brain I was thinking, you don't just sit there and just go, oh, I'm just going to pretend this larva looks like all the other larvas. Or just like a worm. And I was like, no, larva and worms don't look anything like the same thing. So yeah, it could have hurt them in the beginning or in the long run if they decided to do that. Because in my brain I was like, no, you don't just paint all willy-nilly. If you're going to be doing something like that, you have to actually like... I mean, I understand if you're like creating a creature, but this is an actual insect, so you have to do research. So in my brain, I was like, no, smack, no, like you don't do that. But I mean, I understood what they were trying to do, but in my brain, I was just like, oh my god, my makeup teacher would have been yelling at me right now, like, how dare you?
Well, it worked out for them
Obviously.
because that's one of, I've said this before, I know, but I'm saying it again. One of the best things I've seen on the show.
Yeah.
No, like, hot damn.
It's incredible.
Brilliant.
Good job, boys.
Yes.
And unfortunately, the bottom looks.
Well, we should give a nod to Logan, who
yeah,
actually won the challenge.
I have to do a big shout out to Logan because first time doing body paint and wins.
Yeah. And
So-
first person to win 2 challenges this season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Logan.
Good job, buddy. Good job.
Very well deserved.
Yes.
It was absolutely. We're still gushing about it. We've been gushing
know.
about it since we saw
Yeah.
it on screen for the very first time.
Yeah.
So good job. Unfortunately, Kelly and Ben, they had the European Hornet, and they did something a little different.
Yeah. Mostly what was different about it was that their 2 makeups were completely different from one another.
They were, as it was pointed out in the judging, beautiful independent works, but together to create this look, it wasn't.
It was a
quite-
team. It was a team effort. Like,
Yeah.
I'm glad
They
would
even,
say it.
yeah, and they even said, the judges said, how well did you work together? And then it was pointed out, well, we really didn't work together. We kind of did our own thing, and that definitely came across.
Yeah.
And the big part of these team challenges is that when you're on set, when you're working on an actual production, you have to be in constant communication with whoever you're working with.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that you can create this cohesive image.
Yeah. Yep.
And that was, I think, their biggest drawback this week.
Basically, from what I saw, my understanding was they each had an idea in their head of what they wanted to do, and they did that.
Pretty much.
Well, I did like that Ben pointed out, because they were saying about halfway through, this isn't going to work. We need to change our concept. And he said, well,
We don't really have
changing
time.
everything halfway through really isn't going to be the best either. So it could have been worse,
It could have been
honestly.
worse.
They
I
could have
agree.
said, let's throw this out the window, let's try to do something, and then had a half-naked model.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. And that
That
would have been
wasn't
10
completed.
times worse.
Yeah, so I feel there's something to be said, even if your idea doesn't really work, not going too drastically in the other direction too late in the game, and being aware of that time and not being frazzled by the input that says this may not be what you're trying to present.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I do have to say, in that regard, good job managing your time. I
Yeah.
wish it would have been more of a look that went together, because he was so insistent on the camouflage.
And he did
I
a good.
don't know why.
He did a good job camouflaging him. I will give him
did.
that.
Yeah,
Makeup
looked
wise, I was
great.
like, I can't see him. That's great. But at the same time, yeah, that's not what the challenge was about. You
Yeah.
know?
And hiding your model in
Yeah,
something that's
it's kind
supposed
of-
to showcase them, since it's not a camouflage challenge, seemed just bizarre.
Yeah, I have to agree that he did a good job on the camouflaging, but I wasn't sure why he was so bent on doing that.
I don't know. He seemed very adamant on it. And I understand if you know that you can do something well.
Sure.
And saying, let me highlight this, because he did a very good job. It was
Yeah, I agree.
phenomenal. And if that had been the challenge,
Yeah, good
the only
on you.
problem was that wasn't the challenge.
No, it
And
wasn't.
yeah, so hopefully they'll have some more team challenges in the future and maybe take that note. I'm interested to see what the changes are
Yes.
after this challenge, where there is that kind of dissonance that doesn't quite go over. Because V also pointed out that it was very animalistic. in the
Yeah, that Kelly's face was animalistic. And you know what? I liked Kelly's paint job overall, but I do kind of agree that it was just the way that she painted the black on the face, like very clearly in a like muzzle pattern around the nose and the mouth. And I have to agree, it did look kind of more animal.
It looked more
than-
like the insect-animal hybrid. Like if
Yeah.
there was...
Yeah. Yeah.
If that, it seemed like they were making a really great makeup for the challenge that they did not have.
Yes.
Each of them. And each of them were making something for a different challenge. And it was in the
Yeah.
same photo. So I think Neville put it great when he was saying that they work independently, but as a unit, it's boring.
Yeah.
Because they were a great look, but if I was flipping through a magazine and I saw that, I wouldn't go, oh,
Let me
and
look at
Yeah, I
this.
would just be like, oh,
look
okay.
closer.
And
Yeah.
just move on. Yeah.
Which I actually feel I would be a little bit more intrigued by what was ultimately the bottom look this week, that one member of the team went home.
Yeah, Adam and Rob did a ladybug this week, and they ripped into them for this one. And
I know.
I didn't think it was as bad as they were
Yeah. I mean,
going on about.
It was not my favorite makeup this week,
No.
for sure. The thing is, for example, with Kelly and Ben's makeup, it was this dissonance of like, I don't even know what your concept is because these two things don't go together.
Yeah.
At least with Rob and Adams, I got what they were going for.
They had a very cohesive story. They
Yeah.
had the Sistine Chapel. They had the look that they were mirroring. They had the poses. They
Yeah.
had the visual composition. They had a story.
Yeah, exactly. It was like the ladybug queen bestowing life into the larva, a la, God giving life to Adam in the painting in the Sistine Chapel. I mean, they literally mirrored that painting. And I thought the paint job on the larva was really cool.
Really awesome. I agree. But they ripped them on that poor face. I mean,
Yeah.
what did Vionel say? Oh, have you guys ever been to a
kids painting at
Yeah.
a county fair?
I know. I love how she's like, have you guys been to a county fair? Not in a long time. And then, it was just like,
Well, you
Cowardly
coulda fooled
Lion-
me.
Oh,
Yeah,
the
Cowardly
Cowardly Lion
Lion.
Kabuki hybrid. I was
like,
like, oh,
I was like,
jeez.
oh snap. Like,
Somebody get some ice for that bird.
right? I was waiting for Ashton Kutcher to come out and go, burn! Like, it was so bad.
Yeah, she did not like this makeup at all.
Yeah,
and
no.
I just didn't dislike it as much as she
She did,
Well,
yeah.
I had Neville's note, which that it didn't feel elegant or queen-like.
Sure.
Which I'll say as a queen bee challenge, as this regal
completely.
insect. Yes, this looked more of. It looked less regal than it should have, and it had a good concept, but
Yeah.
I didn't think that it was
That bad.
so bad that it looked like a county fair face paint. Jeez.
I know. And I just,
Ouch.
yeah, I didn't like that.
I was gonna say, I'll admit, the lines on the face, they were a little harsh.
think they were super harsh.
It okay. Yeah, I mean, I was trying to
No.
be nice about it. Yeah, the face.
We're not nice on
the
this.
face. The face really didn't work. But there were other elements of it that did, and I didn't think that it should have been the absolute bottom look. But since the judges did, unfortunately, it was Rob who was sent home. This
I know.
I had to say goodbye to Rob.
I really like Rob, too.
I do too.
Yeah.
I think he could have done some more awesome stuff as time went on, but I mean,
Yeah.
we're
I
not the
thought
judges.
he's someone that was progressively growing more and more. And that's, I really hate to see somebody go home that I think make something new every week.
Of course.
Because if you see the same thing over and over and over, then you're a one-trick pony. That's all you got. But
Yeah.
he was really doing really creative things.
Yeah.
So
100% agree.
Yeah.
Everything we saw from Rob was very different. It wasn't like we kept seeing the same thing over and over and over again. And he took the criticisms that he got to heart. And I think he really tried to, branch out and try new things. And I'm really sad to see him go, because I would have really, really liked to see where he takes future challenges.
I agree.
basically what we're saying is we know this is not the last that we will see of you. Rob.
Yes.
We
Yes.
will be seeing much more of you in the
Rob.
future because we love you.
Yay!
So, yeah, I think overall this was a really solid episode. I think that now that it's a smaller group, this season has really found its stride. I think it was kind of clunky at the beginning because there were so many different new elements, throwing in the champions, how do they fit in? And I think that this episode really tied in their role very well. And I think really showcased what this whole season has been trying to portray from the beginning. So I say, good on ya, Face Off.
Yeah, and Team Race has got to step up their game because they're losing. They're dropping contestants like flies.
Yeah, the team race is team like flies.
Like royal flies.
Consumed by spiders. There were no spiders in this episode. Just
I was
bees
kind of
and
sad. I
stuff.
kind of would like to see a spider.
Yeah, but that he only has 2 contestants left.
Yeah, that's it. That's scary. You're getting too close, man. Flying
That-
too close to the sun.
That's nerve-wracking because when you're the last on the team, then it's all on you.
I
But
know.
Yeah. No, seriously.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully Team Race will hang on next week, too.
You can do it. You can do it.
We would love to see you guys next week here as well. And if you've not done so, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/AfterBuzzTV. Check us out on iTunes and SoundCloud, our more than 400 shows that we have. So we got something for everybody. Of course, come and check us out again every week. We'll be right here Thursday nights. And in the meantime, use your Twitter. Tweet us. #ABTV Face Off. You can find me on Twitter at Alana Jordan.
You can find me on Twitter at Emma Fyffe.
And you can find me on Twitter at atorres890.
Thank you guys so much. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.